What's up guys, my name is Ryan, and since our travel is currently limited, I decided to explore more of my home, the state of Utah, and I want to show you my favorite places. So here's my Utah top 10. I was born and raised in Utah, so I may be a little biased, but Utah is home to some of the world's most unique locations. It has 5 national parks, mountains that remind me of the European Alps, and it has some of the world's most crazy rock formations. We'll start this video off at the famous Bonneville Salt Flats. Now the Salt Flats are located about 2 hours west of Salt Lake City, and it's one of the craziest locations in Utah. It's basically 30,000 acres of mud covered in a layer of salt. I mean, there's no vegetation, it's just white all around except for the surrounding mountains. The Salt Flats have been featured in many music videos and movies such as Pirates of the Caribbean. I love coming out here and messing around on the salt, whether it's setting up a tramp on the Salt Flats or jumping over my car. Since the salt is completely flat, the world's fastest land record has been set here. I will say, if you do go, be cautious about driving on the salt, because if the salt is wet, you will sink your car and get stuck, and trust me, that is not good. But anyways, when it rains, the salt becomes one of the world's largest mirror. One time I went out here when it rained and I just spent hours walking all over this place. My feet were just drenched in salt by the end of it. But I mean, it's just such a surreal place. I mean, the only other place that I can think that looks like this is the Salt Flats down in Bolivia. These ones are just as cool, and it's just 2 hours from my house. So definitely recommend visiting this place at least once in your life. You're gonna be blown away. All right, so after the Salt Flats, we're gonna head over to one of Utah's most unique locations, Arches National Park. This is where one of Utah's most iconic locations is located, the Delicate Arch. When I went, it cost about $30 to get in. As I was driving through the park, I was just blown away by all the crazy rock formations. And it's just crazy to think that this is all in Utah. But anyways, we drove to the Delicate Arch parking lot, and we started the hike to the arch. The trail is about 3 miles long. Just keep following those trail signs and you'll get to the Delicate Arch. When we got there, I was amazed by how big the arch actually was. I mean, it's huge. What I thought was really cool is that there's this bowl that surrounds the arch. It was actually pretty icy, so I fell a few times. We had a good time exploring the area and witnessing one of Utah's most iconic locations. Arches also is home to a lot of other really unique rock formations, not just the Delicate Arch, so definitely recommend visiting Arches. All right, so after Arches, we're gonna head up north to visit Kazi Reservoir. So if you like swimming and summer vibes, you have to come to Kazi. It's one of my all-time favorite places to go and just have a good time during the summer. It's just an hour drive from Salt Lake City, and what's cool about this reservoir is that motorboats aren't allowed on it, so you don't have to worry about them in the water. It is a prime place to go kayaking, paddleboarding, do some fishing. I mean, do whatever you want. When I go, I usually park in the parking lot above, and I'll hike down to the lake with some tubes to float on in the water. One thing I like about Kazi is that there's some cliffs that I like to go cliff jump off of. Obviously, be careful and check the depth if you're gonna do it. Sometimes there's a rope swing set up that's fun to go swing off into the water. I mean, it's truly such a fun place, and I just can't recommend it enough during the summer months. All right, so after Kazi, we're gonna head over to one of the most unique places to go swimming, the Homestead Crater. Now this crater is a 65 feet deep geothermal hot spring that is surrounded by a massive mineral dome. When you get there, you'll walk through a door and then go through this cave to get to the spring. There's some scuba and snorkel gear you can rent. When we went there, we just snorkeled and swam around the water. The water averages around 93 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's super warm. And when you're swimming in there, it's just hard to believe that this place even exists. The crater was featured in the movie 127 Hours when James Franco fell into the underground pool. It costs about $16 to go do, and I definitely would recommend adding it to your Utah bucket list. Alright, so after swimming in the crater, we're gonna head over to the middle of Utah to visit Swing Arm City. Now this is the definition of a dirt bike paradise. Some of the world's largest natural jumps are located here. I remember seeing videos of this perfect dirt biking rock formation with jagged cliffs on one end and a perfectly slanted hill on the other. I just decided I had to come and check it out. So what's cool is that you can drive your car out on the dirt there. Now, I didn't have a dirt bike with me, but I just had a good time watching everyone else do crazy stunts around me. They were just riding up these massive mud flat walls. And the landscape felt like it's something from another planet. The ridges and unique formations went on forever. Another really cool place in the area is called Factory Butte. It's this isolated 6,302 foot summit right in the middle of nowhere. The mudflats that lead up to the summit look like something from out of a Star Trek movie. I mean, it's just such a wild place. The area is also home to one of the coolest rock formations in Utah. It's this jagged hoodoo rock that shoots straight out of the earth. It's surrounded by an amphitheater of cliffs, and it creates a one-of-a-kind location. It was a really rough drive to get there, but when I got there, I couldn't believe the conditions. The clouds looked like something from a Simpsons cartoon. I mean, they didn't even look real. I love the definition in the rock with the contrast between the white stripes on the black. You could see the layers of thousands of years of erosion at work. We explored around the area. The mud was just so difficult to walk on. We walked up to the hoodoo and it was just surprisingly big. If you know me, I love crazy rock formations and I just had a blast exploring this area. After exploring the hoodoo, we're going to head over to the Great Salt Lake to witness the spiral jetty. Now this may be one of the world's most unique sculptures. Now this earthen sculpture was constructed in 1970 by the artist Robert Smithson. I remember learning about this sculpture in college, so I decided I had to go. Now it took over 7,000 tons of basalt rock to create this spiral and extend into the Great Salt Lake. I think it took Robert about 9 days to construct this. To get there, it's a long, bumpy drive out in the middle of nowhere. You'll get to this parking lot, and when we got there, we walked down to see what the hype was all about. When you get to the center of the jetty, you may feel a special energy. I think it would be a perfect spot to get abducted by aliens. Jokes aside, it was such a strange yet beautiful place. If you go during the summer months, you might be able to see this strikingly pink water as the result of bacteria and algae that thrive in the 27 salinity of the lake's water. It is the sculpture's 50th year anniversary, so you gotta go celebrate and give the Spiral Jetty a visit. Alright, so after the Spiral Jetty, we're gonna head down south to Bryce Canyon National Park. Now, Bryce Canyon is famous for its crimson colored hoodoos. I mean, there are just thousands of them. I went when it was a little bit colder because I wanted to see snow on the hoodoos. When we got there, there was 30 minutes left before the sunset, and we headed over to Sunrise Point. And we got an amazing view of all of Bryce's hoodoos after we made the short half-mile hike over to Sunset Point to enjoy the last light before sunset. I mean, I was just amazed by the insane rock formations and the combination of snow and the pink sky with those orange hoodoos. I wish we had more time there because you can go hike down through the hoodoos. I mean, it's just really cool. So after Bryce Canyon, you can take the 2-hour drive down to one of my favorite national parks ever, Zion National Park. Now, Zion is just out of this world. Pictures and video don't do it justice. I lived in Utah my whole life, and I never understood how just insane the landscape is there. I mean, it's home to just these steep red cliffs that are thousands of feet high. It's just hard to believe. One of my favorite and most famous places in Zion is the hike to Angel's Landing. So it's about a 5-mile round trip hike that's famous for its sketchy chain trail that leads to the top of Angel's Landing, which is over 1,400 feet high. When we did the hike, we crossed the bridge over the Virgin River and headed up the trail. We went up some steep switchbacks, then went through this small canyon and finished off with even more switchbacks to get to the base of Angel's Landing. We did it in the wintertime, so there were a few spots that were icy, so it was a little bit sketch, but not too crazy. What's just insane about it is just there's a lot of spots where you look over to one side and there's just a 1,000-foot drop, then you look over the other side, there's another 1,000-foot drop, and you just have that chain you're holding on to. Make sure you don't fall. Anyways, I got my 360 camera, so I was able to get just every possible view. I got to the top of Angel's Landing, which is over 1,400 feet high, and just the view of the Zion Canyon is just so iconic and so beautiful. You can also get awesome views on the other side of those steep cliffs. I mean, it's just such a surreal place. I will say the trail was pretty crowded, so be prepared for lots of people, especially if you do the hike in the summertime. But you know, it's one of my favorite hikes, and I just can't believe it's in Utah because it's just so epic and insane. Alright, so after Zion, we're going to go make the hour drive south to Sand Hollow. This is one of my all-time favorite places to cliff jump. It's this man-made reservoir, and it's just a great place to go boat, cliff jump. There's some awesome sand dunes. You want to go take a dune buggy up there. What's awesome about it is it's usually pretty hot in southern Utah, so it's a great place to go in the spring, fall, and summer. If if you want to go swimming and enjoy the water. All right, for my last location, we're gonna head to the planet Mars. Now, this may be one of my favorite places in Utah. So I wanted to see what the sunrise on Mars would hypothetically look like. So I woke up at 5:30 a.m. and I hiked over to this incredible vantage point. As the sun peeked over the horizon, I was just stunned by the pink and orange hues as the light bounced off the rocks. I feel like Matt Damon on The Martian walking around the landscapes there. I mean, I couldn't believe all the layers of rock that range from orange to purple. I mean, it just makes you wonder how these places were even created. I roamed around Mars until later in the afternoon, and the colors were just as stunning. The contrast between the crimson red and grayish blue rock layers were out of this world. I mean, don't be surprised if Elon Musk starts training for Mars here. I'll have to take a Cybertruck out here once they release it. All right, well, that is it for my Utah top 10 video. There are countless beautiful places in Utah, so maybe I'll make a part 2, but I just have to say Utah is one of the most interesting states to visit in the USA. You love mountains, crazy rock formations, and salty places. You gotta give this crazy state a visit. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok at shirley.films. It's Ryan, and we will see you later.